Hello, Blue Team friends. Did Louisville try to derail the Wildcats' plans to sign Tyran Stokes? Is this cause for panic in Kentucky? Let's see what's new. Few stories have captured as much attention as the battle unfolding in the state of Kentucky. Louisville, led by Pat Kelsey, has entered a head-to-head matchup with the Kentucky Wildcats, led by Pope, for the future of the 2026 recruiting class. And the battle is being fought over Tyran Stokes, a guard ranked as the No. 1 overall prospect and a Louisville native, whose college decision has generated a wave of speculation and anxiety. For Wildcats coach Mark Pope, this is another chapter in the saga of keeping Kentucky as a national recruiting benchmark. With his leadership, the program has sought to build bridges with local talent, reinforcing the identity of a team that has always been known as a basketball star factory. The pressure, however, is evident. Louisville has not only intensified its efforts with strategic in-state visits, but also appears poised to redefine its own history by attracting two of the biggest names in the current crop of recruits, Stokes and Tyran. Another five-star native who has already narrowed his list to 6 universities, including Kentucky, Tyran Stokes, in particular, has become the symbol of this battle. His connection to Louisville, the city where he was born and raised, adds an emotional layer to the dispute. His silence on the recruiting process has fueled rumors from all sides, but industry experts indicate that Louisville, Kentucky, and Kansas are in a fierce battle for the player. The fact that Pat Kelsey paid a personal visit to the young athlete, even amid a busy schedule, demonstrates the Cardinals' urgency to secure his signature. For Mark Pope, this raises the alarm even further. Losing Stokes to Louisville would be as significant a symbolic blow as it was a technical one, especially since Pope has worked tirelessly to demonstrate that Kentucky remains the ideal destination for the country's top talent. The situation is further complicated by the inclusion of Tyran, a 5-star point guard whose commitment will be announced on September 28. Tyran, like Stokes, is a true Kentucky product, and his final choice will have profound implications for the immediate future of both programs. While competition comes from giants like Kansas, Oregon, and Indiana, it's impossible to ignore that the real battle is taking place within the state's borders. Louisville appears to be betting big, and Kelsey's visit to the player could be seen as a calculated move to destabilize negotiations between Kentucky and Kansas, which until now seemed to be ahead in the race. Mark Pope's job, in this context, goes beyond simply trying to convince Stokes and Tyran. He must deal with external pressure from a rival willing to do anything to change the dominant narrative in Kentucky basketball. At the same time, Pope needs to show players and their families that Kentucky offers something Louisville simply can't match: an unparalleled tradition of NBA preparation, access to elite resources, and the opportunity to play on a stage revered around the world. This message needs to be conveyed clearly and convincingly, especially when the emotional pull of representing one's hometown comes into play. But there's something deeper to this dispute. For Louisville, landing Stokes and Tyran would be a historic milestone, potentially the largest recruiting class in program history. For Kentucky, losing these two players would be seen as a significant setback, a failure to defend the territory it has always considered its home turf. In this sense, the pressure on Pope is enormous. He knows that the success of his recruiting efforts affects not only the upcoming season, but also the long-term perception of Kentucky's place on the national stage. What makes this story even more fascinating is the timing. With Tyran's commitment date fast approaching, and Stokes keeping his process secret, every move is amplified. Kelsey's visits are seen as a last-ditch attempt to turn things around, while Pope and his staff work behind the scenes to ensure Kentucky remains at the top of the priority list for these young talents. I want to see Pope recruit this guy. Let's do it. Some rankings are designed to spark debate, and CBS Sports certainly succeeded in fulfilling that role by projecting the next 25 years of college basketball. Among obvious names like Duke, Kansas, and North Carolina, the Kentucky Wildcats' position caught our attention, 9th, even behind rival Louisville. This is where logic seems to break down, and where analysis requires more caution than immediate enthusiasm for lists that, by nature, are more opinionated than scientific. Kentucky is, in fact, the winningest program in NCAA history. It's a brand that transcends generations, coaches, and even changes in the sports landscape. When it comes to consistency, few institutions can claim to have remained, decade after decade, among the absolute elite of college basketball. Over the past 25 years, they've won SEC titles, a national championship in 2012, consistently appeared in the playoffs, and, even during transition periods, maintained an aura that no other program in the league can replicate. Mark Pope's arrival, viewed with suspicion by some, now appears to be a turning point that would put Kentucky in an even stronger position for the future. The coach not only returned the Wildcats to the Sweet 16 for the first time since 2019, but also broke NCAA records by collecting 8 wins against top 15 ranked opponents in his first year. This is no accident. It's a pattern of competitiveness that has been established since the beginning of his tenure. Beyond the immediate impact, Pope has already shaped one of the most complete rosters in the country for the 2025-26 season. The return of all-sex selection, Otega Owe, adds experience and talent to a strategically strengthened group, combining roster depth, transfer portal prowess, and significant financial resources, a sign of institutional backing that few programs possess. In the current college basketball landscape, where NIL and sponsorship are crucial, Kentucky not only hasn't fallen behind, but remains a leader. This is where the Louisville comparison seems forced. Pat Kelsey hasn't even won an NCAA tournament game in his career, and while he's an interesting name, it's far from justifying such an optimistic projection. Kentucky, on the other hand, has already demonstrated with Pope an immediate ability to deliver results, backed by structure, history, and support that are unlikely to disappear in the next 25 years. Placing the Cardinals so far above the Wildcats seems more like an attempt to generate buzz in a historic rivalry than a sound long-term analysis. If the criteria are past and historical success of the program, it's inevitable to conclude that Kentucky should be in the select group of the top 5. And if the metric is future projection, logic also favors the Wildcats. The combination of tradition, infrastructure, financial strength, and solid coaching makes it difficult to imagine a scenario in which the program doesn't remain among the major players in college basketball. CBS may argue that a no-9 ranking still places Kentucky among the elite, but in practice, it feels like an understatement of the true strength of a program that has repeatedly proven its resilience and capacity for reinvention. Pope is just beginning his tenure in Lexington and has already delivered results that support optimism. Looking ahead, the Wildcats should not only remain within the top 10 but have all the elements to claim a higher spot, reaffirming that the UK of college basketball still speaks with a blue accent. The tradition of Big Blue Madness has always been a staple on the college basketball fan calendar, and the 2025 edition won't be just another annual celebration. It promises to be unlike anything we've seen before. UK Athletics has announced that the event will be held on a Saturday, October 11th at the iconic Rupp Arena. This weekend shift may seem subtle at first glance, but its potential impact is significant, especially when we consider the strategic implications behind the decision, traditionally scheduled for a Friday. Big Blue Madness has been a near-sacred ritual for Kentucky fans. A night dedicated to the official start of the basketball season, it's filled with lively introductions, cheerleading performances, player competitions, and of course, the first public glimpse of the new men's and women's rosters. However, by opting for a Saturday, UK appears to be trying to maximize attendance and create an even more accessible experience for families and casual fans who may not have been able to attend on a Friday after work. This change coincides with a weekend of no schedules for the Kentucky football team, eliminating any in-state competition for attention. Thus, the choice appears to demonstrate a conscious effort to transform Big Blue Madness into an even more central event for the Lexington and surrounding sports community. It will be interesting to see how this change affects the overall atmosphere at Rupp Arena. Will we see record-breaking crowds, or perhaps an even more festive atmosphere than usual? Furthermore, the timing of this year's Big Blue Madness plays an important strategic role for Mark Pope's program and his recruiting staff. During the same weekend, Kentucky expects to welcome 3 top prospects for official visits: Jordan Smith Jr., a 5-star point guard ranked 3rd in the 2026 class, Ethan Taylor, a 4-star center, and Josh Irving, another promising center. The presence of these young talents during the event certainly adds an extra layer of excitement for coaches and fans. For them, Big Blue Madness will not only be an introduction to the culture of the Kentucky basketball program, but also a unique opportunity to experience the fervor of the Wildcats fan base in its natural habitat. The event will also serve as the kickoff for a series of activities that prepare the teams for the regular season. A few weeks after Big Blue Madness, the Wildcats will face Purdue and Georgetown in scrimmages before officially opening their campaign against Nicholls on November 4th. Meanwhile, the women's team, under Kenny Brooks, will begin its journey against Morehead State on November 3rd. This sequence of games offers a seamless transition from the hype generated by Big Blue Madness to the first competitive matches of the season. Another intriguing aspect of this edition is the possibility of Rick Pitino making a special appearance at the event. While nothing has been officially confirmed, speculation about a return visit from the legendary former Wildcats coach is already gaining momentum among fans. Pitino has an undeniable legacy at Kentucky, always carrying a sense of nostalgia, and his presence could elevate the event's atmosphere even further. Big Blue Madness has never been just about basketball. It's a celebration of the identity and collective passion that unites all Wildcats fans. By adjusting its traditional date, Kentucky demonstrates its willingness to evolve without losing sight of what makes this event so special. Will you attend? Let us know what you think.